Hello and welcome back to Business with Go. Today we're going to be talking about the importance of businesses expanding within their own country. So let's head straight in. So let's begin. So when you're looking at the sort of situation where you have these businesses that are expanding in their own country, so they're going from they're not choosing to expand externally. They're just saying, okay, we want to build a bigger sort of business area here in our own country. Not necessarily. The benefit of this will be increased tax revenue. So basically, if a business goes larger in their own country, they should obviously make more profits. They might benefit from economies of scale, and while they might drop the price, then that will probably increase the amount of people that are coming along. Or even if they just benefit economies of scale and just don't drop the price, the situation is they still have more profits. So that means more direct tax from corporations. Tax and self-assessment tax. So for the government to spend on all these kind of things they want. So it's kind of benefit here where you have this kind of increased tax revenue, and it's a benefit that really it's an important benefit because a lot of the time you've got these things when businesses expand, and it might be at the cost of consumers' income. And then you don't want to suddenly have this thing where like businesses are expanding and they're swallowing up more consumers' money, and it's like okay, so we tax our consumers and the consumers need to spend money. They're now living in poverty because we didn't tax the companies that took their money. So now we have to deal with this and we don't have the money. That's the thing. It really benefits this kind of thing where it's like, well, you take the money, well, obviously you need to be taxed a greater amount, because at the end of the day, you still have more profits. So you also have increased employment. So expansion should mean more production. So there should be more domestic employment available for people in the country to help sort of manufacture the increased output. But of course, there's an important problem here, which is you don't want a business to get too big. So if a business gets too big, both globally and internally, it might reach the point where it can invest in automation. The problem with the business invests in automation is that that's a decreased amount of employment. Sure, the increased automation, so you still have increased tax revenue, you still have all these other things. But when it comes to employment, you have decreased employment, and you might even have decreased employment further than what you would even have, before. Like if business before, like for example, if I set up a business, and I have, let's say, 10 grand in my pocket, and it's a business where there are people in the industry who can afford have machinery, but I'm not going to be able to afford the £1 million machinery that needs to be, used to have automation. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I'll take out a loan for a business I don't know if it'll succeed or not, and no one's going to give me that loan anyway. And that's the situation I have here, where people are not always going to be in this position whereby they're going to always lead to increased employment. So basically, if business is smaller and then it expands, obviously it'll do this. But if business is a little bit, if it's on the cusp of becoming a business that uses automation like a lot, then you might have this problem where employment actually might decrease. You also have the spin-off effect. So sometimes if a business expands, it will need more service providers. This would be like electricity, you have accounting, you have all these other things you have here. I'll also need suppliers, and some of them will be from other countries, so they won't necessarily they may not be in that market directly. Like let's say I run a business and it's in Spain, but I might get raw materials from a supplier in Germany. Like, well, technically that German company are technically selling to this market, but they're not actually selling directly. They're selling to the global market, but in a way it's like, well, most of their deals are in Germany, and then other people are like external, like, can I special order? I'll pay for the shipping, that kind of thing. Not only this wouldn't always affect a country, but sometimes it does when the businesses are from that country as well. What that means is that this will lead to that same business increasing. So that business that is massively increasing, the suppliers of the business, as long as they don't change suppliers, then that supplier will increase in the amount of sales that they're selling. So that means they increase in their profits, and then they in turn pay more tax but keep more profits. They in turn have to hire more people to keep up with the amount of produced. And all this means that this kind of spin-off effect is really important, because what it means is that one business expanding, if it does it right, is able to benefit these businesses. Of course, the issue there with this is that sometimes businesses they don't do this. Sometimes businesses have a slightly different situation, whereby they go, okay, so we have to expand, but we're currently going with our raw materials with Jimmy, and we're currently selling to Fred, but we're bigger now, so we're going to sell to somebody else, or we're going to buy from somebody else. Now, this might be that one person isn't able to get economies of scale. Like, if you're buying raw materials from somebody who is, the same size or just a little bit bigger or just a little smaller than you are, it doesn't really matter. But if you begin to grow and they're not growing with you all the time, if maybe they had a bad month or a bad year, whatever the case may be, suddenly now they're falling behind. Might not always be able to fully achieve everything that you want. So you might go, okay, we'll go with this supplier then. You go, okay, we're actually going to ditch you now, and that's the problem. So this can lead to problems where sometimes businesses don't actually benefit spin-off businesses, when they themselves use backward integration, or, when they themselves use all these things where they start to become their own supplier, when they start to sell the goods directly to the consumer, but not necessarily directly in the sense of, oh, we're going to sell directly, but more, they own the supplier. They own the person selling them directly. And that means that suddenly you now have this thing where it's like, well, actually, no, there are no spin-off businesses because this person is going from production to selling all the way through. And obviously for that business, increase profits, and, it'll mean that that business is able to say, well, here, country, increase tax revenue, although some businesses do a little bit of a tax evasion that area where they go, oh yeah, well actually this country has less of a tax, so we're just going to pay the tax over here. Yeah. There's all these kind of problems here you have when it's like, well, sometimes to have these kind of issues. But the point is that when you have these spin-off things, sometimes it's not all the way. Of course, that does lead to increased employment, but of course the argument you could make is that, well, no, does it truly lead to increased employment? Because if you expand into a market, but you don't actually increase the market, you know what I mean? Like, you just take over, you either take over or you just, move other businesses out of the market. You're not truly increasing employment so much as you are actually just, like, let's say there are 50,000 jobs in an industry. Now, in year 1, you have 1,000 of those 50,000 jobs. But in year 10, you have 40,000 of them. But you now have become a monopoly in that market. That means actually will fall in 10,000 jobs. But obviously, that still meant you had an increase of 39,000 jobs. You as a business did increase employment. But the problem is when you don't actually expand the market, all you do is expand into the market and expand within it and just sort of take the employees from your competition. And what happens here is that fall is important because businesses will oftentimes have duplicating roles. I've talked a little bit about this before, where businesses that merge together might go, well, no, you were this, you manage this area of this corporation, but now we don't need you to also manage this business, but we only need 2 of you. We only need 1. So let's get rid of you. And that leads to full employment. You don't want a monopoly because monopolies bring, well, people being fired because they're just creating jobs. And you also have a lot of automation because the bigger business is, the more it's able to fund automation. And as time moves on as well, people might be like, well, before this, people reacted pretty badly. If we had automation, then they would have gone with our competitors. But now we don't have competitors. So, let's go full scale. And that's the thing you have there where this kind of thing happens. But generally, a business expanding leads to lower prices for consumers. See, if a business can expand and take advantage of economies of scale, they should be able to charge lower prices, meaning the cost of living should fall for the citizens of the country. Now, sometimes businesses don't do this. Now, in monopolies, businesses will oftentimes actually increase prices because that way they're like, well, who are you going to go with? You're going to go to a competitor? Yeah, we actually own all competitors. All those people you think are our competitors, they're actually not. Like, you'll see this with a lot of online businesses as well, where very big online businesses might own smaller businesses. So you might go, well, yes, you could go to that business, but here's the thing. You'd still be giving money to us. Yes. Yes, you would, you see. They are owned by us. And that's the thing that some businesses do have, where they own other businesses. That then it's like, well, you go to competitors, well, that's the thing. So some businesses will do that. No, other times it's just like, well, no, economies of scale, you know, we have increased profits if we just keep it the same. And you know, sometimes they might do that, but obviously, you know, that'll mean increased tax as long as they pay tax. And it's a thing here where there are benefits, but of course you could argue some of these benefits are, you know, they're not always the case. Increased tax revenue, tax evasion, increased employment, automation, and duplication can be having spin-off effect, but some businesses will just, you know, not do that. They might create a spin-off effect for other businesses that aren't really in that remit, and then it's like, well, yeah, sure, you're benefiting this business over here, but this business is actually not a small business. This business is large business. If you're only buying for large businesses, it's kind of like, yeah, you're basically creating a monopoly there, and you don't want that. You don't want the entire world controlled by big businesses. You also have low prices for consumers. Sometimes that business won't do that. They'll just have, you know, economies of scale, and they just go, well, that means more profits rather than lower prices. Now, you also have the importance of businesses expanding abroad. And that's what we'll be talking about in the next video. Please join us then. If not, you can view other videos, and you know, you can subscribe to the channel. That'll be absolutely perfection. If you don't want to view other videos, both now and in the future, just this. Bye bye for everything, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your existence.